we're just going to do a video to show the heads that we decided upon for our 5.2 Magnum, this 318. My attention was pretty quickly diverted from, just going to show you the reasons why and my thought process behind it. What I discovered was pretty amazing, pretty disturbing actually. I want you to see it. Stay with me. It might save your engine because it would have destroyed mine. Follow me through and I'll just start you where we were going to start, and I'll let you see it and find it as we seen it and found it. Welcome back to the channel. What's inside these boxes we haven't even seen. We wanted to wait and open them up with you so you can see at the same time that we see. We want to explain our thought process and why we go the route that we went. Should be fun. Well, let's get started. Inside the big box, there's a little box. I hope that don't continue. Now we'll get to see what's inside, hopefully. I gotta lift this out and put it on the cardboard so we can discuss it. Kind of hard to talk about it when you can't see it. What we have here is a brand new, not remanufactured, head from Engine Quest or EQ. A lot of people have heard of the EQ heads. They're known for being high flow, but that was the ones that were made in Australia. Those ones you can't get those anymore. This one here is no more high flow than a factory Magnum head. And I think a fast way to tell, if I remember right, is the original EQ heads did not have expansion plugs at the end of the head. But these ones do, like the original ones. But there are advantages to this head, and I want to explain why we went with this head and the difference in cost and what it was and the reason why we picked this. Also, I want to see what kind of quality work was done on these heads to see exactly how good of a job they are for supposedly ready to bolt on. If you want to know the part number, just wondering if anybody has noticed anything yet about this head. See anything different? See it now? And if you haven't noticed, these intake bolts, they're the LA bolt pattern. In other words, they take the older 67 up to 91 style of intake. So my playbook for intakes is really wide with these heads. You could buy these either or with the factory Magnum style intake bolts that go down like that, or the LAs which go in like this. Another advantage that these heads have is the water flow is different. So you actually have a little better cooling more evenly, so they say. I haven't proved that, but that's what they advertise. And everyone knows that the original Magnums are prone to cracking, and these are supposed to have a little bit more material where the original factory Magnums cracked, their heads cracked. Even though the crack doesn't really hurt anything, nobody just likes to mess around with a cracked head, even if it doesn't really affect much. It's not a good feeling. These are supposed to have, and again, I didn't sonic test them and I'm not going to see if the thickness is more, but they advertise that you have more material, so less chance of cracking, plus the better water flow. I want to verify some of the quality that they put together on this head, not to pick them apart, but just to see. And I want to tell you what I was told in my dealings with them. I think that's important. One of the things as I asked is, I want to know the brand of valves they used. they told me it was just like a common place to buy auto parts. These are also supposed to have a 3-angle valve job instead of just a basic, you know, the face grind and the seat grind. It's supposed to be a 3-angle valve job. We're going to disassemble these, and we're going to put the Hughes springs on them that I bought for the cam I have. These come with new springs, but they're the factory strength springs. So we won't be using these springs and retainers, but we'll use everything else. Now I want to cover why I bought new instead of refurbishing the ones that the 5.2 had on it. Follow me along here. First of all, they had broken off exhaust studs that needed to be extracted. They had the wrong intake angle of bolt holes that would work for the, obviously they had the Magnum bolt holes for the intake instead of the LA, and we want to use the Stealth intake. Second of all, after I drilled and removed the exhaust studs, now, you know, obviously before I even do that, you had to magnaflux them to make sure you got a good head to even start with. And remember, I never drove that engine. So magnafluxing per head, you got that cost. The next thing is, by the way, time is worth something, especially if you're busy. The next step of the way is I have to do a 3-angle valve job, and I cannot do that at home. Now you got the cost of a 3-angle valve job. And what does that stem to? How are the exhaust valve guides? Intake valve guides? How are the exhaust valves? Probably the intake valves would be very savable. Probably the exhaust valves would have to be replaced. Most likely the guides themselves would probably be serviceable. But you can just see how the cost is already adding up. Even if I just wanted to make sure the bottom was like new and resurface the head even 5/1000ths to get them perfectly flush, that's still a cost. Maybe I could get away without doing that. But as you can see, the cost is adding up really, really quick. We got these advertised, sold, shipped without taxes. You got to pay taxes. Was, you know, like 800 and something. So I probably could have saved, I don't know, guys. I could have saved maybe a couple $100. When we actually considered the time, the delay, and I know I'm doing this over the winter, so time isn't that big of a deal, but still my time is worth something because I can be doing other things with my time. When you consider the time and you consider the expense, it just made sense to me to get brand new, and that's what we did. We picked EQ because of I could get them with the LA bolt pattern. They come with a 3-angle valve job, just some things you won't get from a few extra things. I talked to the guy through emails, and he said he vacuum tests all the valves to make sure there's no leaks. So they do a leak down test on them. Every valve is leak tested with vacuum. So the bottom line is these are a better prepped head, in my opinion, than what some of them you can just go and buy a repop one or whatever. We're going to assess these heads now. We're going to see the quality of work that's here. Even though I'm swapping out my valve springs and retainers to match the cam, we're just gonna get right down there and see exactly what we got going on here. What we're going to do is check the valve height installed and to see if they're even. And just at holding this up on top of the valves, all the exhaust valves are lower than the intake valves. I would say by about, I'm going to guess about 25 thousandths lower. But all the exhaust have the exact same gap. So we're going to check just on this cylinder, the intake and the exhaust. You can use, and my preferred method is rubbing alcohol. I just pour it in there so, you know, it's up over the seat and just see if anything leaks out the bottom. And I don't have any rubbing alcohol right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and use brake cleaner. I like things that are thin for this. But we'll just put some in there. If you look, you can see that I have the whole back face of the exhaust valve filled up with the brake cleaner. And if it doesn't leak out, then I'm going to call it that their vacuum sealed valve is pretty good. But we'll see. I'll just give it a few minutes. And we'll do the same thing to the intake side of it too. And then we'll take apart these two valves and just see what's in here. And I'm going to repeat this cycle to all of them. Whoa. I'm about to show you why you never buy a head, regardless of who the manufacturer is, and just say it's a ready to bolt on head out of the box. Don't ever do that. I don't know if you can see in there, but you follow that intake port in there. And then you see that gray matter? It's like grindings. It's like, if I would have put these on the car, this would have tore up the engine. That's how severe it is. Before popping these valves out, I just cleaned the surface up with a little bit of carb cleaner on a rag, and then I mark the order. Yeah, this is just full of sludge, like grinding material. Look at that. Every bit of that. There's your ready to bolt on heads. All around the seat where it washed down, and I took that apart. Man. Just holding this up, scraping these two intakes to see what I get to fall out of the port. Let's see what fell out. How about that? And look what's still left in there. Unbelievable. I will send this video to the guy that I bought these off of. Give him a chance to correct and fix his business. Point here is nothing for granted. Remove the rest of the valves. Can't help but show you what I found. Look to the right side of that. On each of these intakes, see that mound of stuff in there? Let me show you what's on there. See this? Got a clean screwdriver. Go inside there. Let's see what we can get. See it? Let's see what I did now. Now look at it. Get a better vision now? Same thing right here. Look at this one. There you go. I hope this video shed a little bit of light on what can happen and how fast it can happen, and if it saves even one person's engine from being destroyed, it was a success. Thanks for joining. Till next time.